Facebook is a social media monopoly with no competition. How it was allowed to become the all-encompassing giant that it is now speaks to the failure of government to properly regulate and enforce laws and rules pertaining to monopolies. There are some things that should be done immediately to stop Facebook's unregulated control and power over free speech in the press. When a supersized corporation controls the press, censoring arbitrarily and without explanation, it kills the First Amendment. There is no freedom of the press when the free press no longer exists and is owned by supersized corporations. I wrote some blogs about plastic pollution. Someone did not like what I wrote and had Facebook block me. Facebook blocked me without providing an explanation and without providing any avenue by which I can argue why I should not be censored. If anyone is interested, the material Facebook found so damaging and worthy of blocking is as follows. I wrote about plastic pollution and how it's not properly addressed. I advocated for the widespread employment of disadvantaged people to be paid to remove plastic pollution from coastlines and other areas. I discussed why this is the most effective approach to the cleanup portion of the plastic pollution crisis and why employment, not technology or volunteerism, must come first. I also wrote about how plastic straw bans are being used to ignore the wider issue of plastic pollution. I support plastic straw bans, but believe the ban campaign must also address the far more urgent need to remove plastic already in the environment and to stop the daily flood of new plastic into the oceans. Plastic straws are but a tiny amount of the total plastic pollution problem, yet they are far too often used as the excuse to ignore or do nothing about the over 99% of plastic pollution that is not plastic straws. I wrote about how recycling is not working and how wrong it is for developed countries to ship plastic waste to developing nations already drowning in their own plastic waste. Removing plastic waste from the environment and keeping new plastic waste out of the environment must be the priority, not recycling. If recycling helps achieve this, then it has a role to play. Properly disposing of plastic waste, getting it out of the environment, and keeping it out of the environment must come first. I argued vigorously for the immediate, widespread employment of disadvantaged people to remove plastic waste from the environment before the plastic waste breaks down further into unrecoverable pieces. In this way, impoverished people and the environment are helped. In my writings about plastic pollution, I discussed critically a serious problem that is destroying oceans, wildlife, and more. There is no defamation of character. None of my blogs advocate hate, violence, or harm to other people. Instead of refuting my arguments, someone complained to Facebook, which then blocked me without any explanation. There is no number or web address that Facebook provides where a live person can be reached. There is no place to refute Facebook's arbitrary, unexplained censorship. Facebook must hire live people to respond to their censorship. Censored people must be allowed legitimate avenues to contest Facebook's arbitrary censorship. Facebook has already done enough damage to American democracy. Think of the last presidential elections and Russian hacking and interference. The overpaid executives of Facebook must employ people to respond to phone calls or online web chats. No company should have so much unlimited power over the media without a live person anywhere in sight to respond to complaints and unexplained censorship.